or something like that. So, little bang to the start of the show, huh?
Yep.
All right. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Tough week. Been tough. Fight on, man. So Chris knows a whole bunch of things. So we turn the mics on and make the best of the time we're together, man.
That we do. And you
Sometimes days are tougher than others.
missed the perfect opportunity for a charge on. Say fight on, you say charge on.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah. Welcome to the program, the Beat of Sports on this Tuesday. I'm Marc Daniels. Chris Vasquez is over there. You can send Chris a song for Double Shot Tuesday. Text 50857 or post it on the stream on our YouTube page, 96 on the Game Orlando. You can watch the stream of the show. Access that also on Twitter, 96.9 Game On, and partake in that. Tell you about, man, they brought some good food again today.
I love it. I love this time of year when we get a bunch of free food every day.
Chris brings in food every day.
I don't bring in food every day.
Usually.
It's drinks.
And then just
bring drinks in every day.
Going to town. How many of those mini sandwiches you get?
I only grabbed 2.
Oh.
Only 2.
Okay.
And I didn't grab, what was the other thing that they had there?
The breakfast one?
No, not the sandwiches. The thing on the...
Their version of a tater tot.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't grab that either.
All right.
I'm going to have to go back and get it.
Tuesday edition of our program. Matt Michelle's going to join us for a weekly visit, and a lot of things as we get closer to the start of a college football season. Get Matt's thoughts on the AP Top 25, what's happening at UCF, and other state and national college football news. We got some NFL stuff to get. Ira Kaufman, who I believe covered the Bucs even before the Bucs got here. He was covering the Bucs. He knew, but the great Ira Kaufman's going to join us a little bit later. Chat about what's happening over in Tampa Bay. We get an on the mark, off the mark segment coming up later in the program as well. I had one incident at food shopping yesterday.
Oh boy, what happened?
It wasn't really an incident either. I'm picky about the watermelon that I get.
Okay.
And Gary Paris, my broadcast partner, who's worked in citrus for decades, taught me how to find a good watermelon. Nothing worse than when you buy a watermelon, you cut it, and it's not ready.
Yep.
Doesn't have that sweetness to it.
Not juicy.
So, I was at Walmart, $4.97, whole watermelon, right? Can't beat that.
Yep.
And they had like large seedless watermelon, but you got to make sure you get the right one. I'm on one side of the big box. There's another person on the opposite side. I'm cognizant. I don't want to kind of lean over too much, but I got to move and jostle around a little bit, right? And sometimes the way they're stacked, something can kind of roll a little bit. So I saw what looked to be the perfect watermelon. The key is the base a little yellow, meaning it is sat for a while, and that's not a good watermelon. And then if you can push that side and feel a little bit of, squeeze to it, and from a distance, I'm like, oh, that looks perfect. But it's on their side. And there's a little bit about, just the square of the box. I'm now going to move, not on their side, but the side next to it.
Okay.
And this person still hasn't made a choice, but I'm going in. And as I go in, one of the watermelon begins to move towards where their hands are. And I'm like, oh. And then the guy pulls his hands back and he goes, go ahead, pick the one you want.
You said that to him.
No, he said that to me. So I grabbed mine and I go, hey, sorry, thank you. And he goes, all that for that? And I'm like, yeah, I think it's good watermelon. He's a little bit upset.
Get over it.
I kind of felt the same way. Like, listen, now,
how long have you been standing there?
Listen, if it was an elderly person, I never would have done. I would have carefully helped that person and so forth. But he had the physical makeup that in case he wanted that watermelon, we were going to have a little showdown. So I'm diving in. I'm treating that thing like the plastic balls at a Chuck E. Cheese when the kids go in it too. Like I am diving in for this thing right now.
Oh, that was fun.
By the way, cut that watermelon last night. Fantastic.
Nice.
Fantastic.
You ever see the people at the grocery store just kind of knocking on the watermelon because they think that's the way to find the right one.
Yeah. I respect the person that understands the process for each piece of fruit or vegetable that, if it's good or not. Knocking on the watermelon's not a good idea. Just look at the base. If the base has got a nice, kind of yellowish base,
I struggle.
That means that watermelon has been sitting there.
I struggle finding the right pineapple.
You like pineapple?
Love.
You buy a whole pineapple?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, nice.
I used to actually, kind of outing myself here, but I actually used to work produce. I worked produce for a year when I was at Publix.
What do you mean you're outing yourself? Like
I feel like if you work,
what's embarrassing about that?
No, if you worked in produce, you should know how to pick like the right watermelon, the right pineapple, and so forth. I don't know how to pick the right.
So were you the guy like, hey?
I just cut the fruit.
You're like, I don't know, man. Just pick one.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But I was always in back.
Cut the fruit.
I cut the fruit. I always hated BOGO fruit salad sales.
Oh, because of everything you had to put in there.
Oh God.
Yeah.
So much work.
Publix is notorious for if you got the fruit sale, it's like, hey, the special is $3.99 a pound. There's never anything a pound.
God no.
$5.37, $4.96, $6.15. Like, where's the $3.99 one here?
Nope.
On the BOGO. What? Have we got $3.99 here?
Nope.
Anything? Yeah. A little produce, huh?
Yeah.
I never did produce. I was too young. Publix was 13 or 14. They wouldn't let me handle anything sharp.
The thing I hated doing most...
Well, that's not true, actually, because they gave us box cutters. So we'd work in the back after they unload the truck and everything. We'd have to break down the boxes. They would give us box cutters. So they would trust us with that.
The worst part of produce, besides the BOGO fruit salads, was I hated coring pineapple.
Oh, I can see that. Yeah.
Hated that because I can never cut the pineapple straight. So the base was always kind of tilted a little bit.
And they'd be like, Vasquez, what are we doing? Like the manager would know, like, oh, Chris is here today, huh?
Yep.
Okay, got it. Yeah, who put him on pineapple? Let me ask you a question. Because I never, again, when I was at Publix, I was bagging groceries and just whatever. Does produce not get along with the meat section? Kind of like look down and meat like, hey, we're carving up animal here, okay?
No. Actually,
a little ego back and forth,
No, we
What do you got down there, huh?
So
special on ribs.
So when I worked produce, one of my meat managers was a Cowboys fan, so we bonded instantly.
I could see how a little showdown,
Nah.
Guy's got animal blood all over his
Man, look at the little sissies over there cutting fruit.
Oh, special on grapes today, huh? Yeah. Just cut some T-bone back here, okay? That was bone you heard, okay? What'd you do, huh? Oh, packaging some what? Huh? Zucchini? Is that what you got going today?
We actually would have to go to the meat department to use their knife sharpener.
Yeah, they didn't like that.
They'd actually no, you hand me the knife, I'll do it for you.
Yeah.
Can't risk you cutting yourself.
Yeah. I just packaged 40 pounds of ground beef. What do you need this for, huh? What do you need a knife for? Huh?
Cut some pineapple.
Cut a little cantaloupe today, huh? A little crazy, huh?
A little bit of honeydew.
Yeah. There's no way the meat section has respect for vegetables. Yeah, there's just no way. There's no way, right?
I will say I got to eat a lot of fruit while I was cutting.
I order seafood a lot, even though Fresh Market I usually get my seafood. But at my Publix, they gave up having the person in the seafood department. Now somebody from meat comes along. There's nothing like I go up to seafood, okay? The person making the sushi roll, they don't even recognize you, okay? And the guy in meats will look and go, great. Now I got to go wrap a pound of shrimp for this guy here. I'm cutting T-bone back here. And it's beneath me to go package a pound of shrimp.
Well, not only that, with cross-contamination, he's got to take off the gloves. He's got to wash his hands, put the gloves back on.
You wish he's doing that, okay? You wish he's doing that, okay? Yeah, believe me, many times I'm like, you know what? I think I changed my mind, Yeah.
I'll go buy the frozen shrimp instead.
Yeah. Was the hairnet not available today? Is that what you're telling me? Just something you got, Ran out of gloves back there, huh?
Got like a 2-foot beard. You don't have the beard net going on.
All right. When we come back, there was a story yesterday in college football that I know some Florida State fans jumped on, but it's the reality of the power of your program. I'll explain next, but first, everybody's favorite segment.
It's almost like an unwritten rule that when you become a father, you become king of the bad dad jokes.
What is Forrest Gump's password? One Forrest one.
Are you ready to laugh? We know at least one person is. Here's CB's dad joke of the day.
Oh, that's so great. Got a new flavor of liquid death today. It's actually
You got a
pretty
couple,
good.
didn't you?
Yeah.
What'd you get?
I had a strawberry terror and then pina colada.
Oh, okay.
Very
right.
good. Very good.
Go ahead.
Which one do I want to do here? Okay. It's always cold in the studios. So, Mark, what does a painter do when he gets cold?
I don't know, Chris. What does a painter do when he gets cold?
Just puts another coat on. Painter coat.
I'll just brush that aside, I guess. Okay.
Painting puns today.
By the way, what's the Will Smith brand these days?
He's kind of fallen off.
Yeah. Double Shot Tuesday theme city songs. City's got to be in the title.
Love this song.
Mm.
Hi, Bill.
50857 if you want to send a song in. You can also post on the YouTube page at 96.9 The Game Orlando if you're watching the stream there. Taste Central Florida, the event coming up August 28th at the Orlando World Center Marriott, presented by Edward Jones. Last week, this week, some of the wonderful folks that are partaking in this event have brought some food by more than 100 Central Florida's top chefs, restaurants, and beverage experts for a special night. 100% of the event proceeds benefit Second Harvest Food Bank of Central Florida and the Coalition for the Homeless of Central Florida. For ticket information and more, go to tastecfl.org, tastecfl.org, and the Brentwood Tavern, which is in the Dr. Phillips area in the Grand Oaks Village and Dr. Phillips Boulevard, came by to bring a whole bunch of great sliders, both breakfast with a little potato, their version of a tater tot. It's kind of like almost looks like a crab cake.
Okay.
Just big, with sausage and egg. And then you had,
I had
all the non-breakfast ones.
Yeah, I had the, it was a biscuit slider with chicken and pickles.
Yeah.
And then, what was the last one? What was the last slider?
But it was good.
Yes.
They do brunch on Saturday and Sunday, specials throughout all the days of the week. Today, Tuesday, 3 tacos for $10 and a $5 margarita. Smash burgers on Wednesday, flatbreads Thursday. So lots of good stuff. Thanks to Brentwood Tavern, Orlando, for coming out and bringing some food by today. And again, tastecfl.org if you want more information on the event coming up on the 28th of August at the World Center Marriott. Taste Central Florida, presented by Edward Jones.
Margarita would have been
good. Sure, Chris. Tuesday morning, yeah. 10 o'clock hour, WYJM Orlando, WJR HD2 Cocoa Beach. So, yesterday, a couple of college football writers at CBS, Chris Hummer and John Talty, put out a story about college rosters and college football and who's spending what. And they did this based on some industry information that they've gathered. Is it exact numbers? No, because you don't have to register what your number is. But there are people in the industry that kind of share some information. There's a group of what now has become some of these general managers that share some information. And the gist of the story was, hey, we've got a number of $40 million rosters and $30 million rosters in college football. I don't think that's surprising. And just what I believe is that there are a few probably that are north of $50 million. And their story talks about the teams that are in that 40 to plus million and 30 plus million. And it's, it's not shocking. LSU was going to spend with Lane Kiffin, Miami, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Oregon, and Texas. And I mean, the schools that you would think of. A little bit deeper dive into their piece, they do talk about some of the conferences and mention the ACC that has a number of schools that are under $20 million in what they're paying. And in reference to Florida State, there was a little note that said one school that might surprise you, Florida State, which barely sits above $20 million in the baseline, in a must-year win from battle coach Mike Novell. The Seminoles have not spent to their capability, a sign that booster sentiment may have run dry. That note resonated with some Florida State fans, and we said the same thing about Billy Napier at Florida. There's a percentage of the fan base that is going to root for a team regardless of the situation the coach is in. They will. They love their team. There's a percentage of your fan base when your coach is in an embattled position that's in the awkward spot of, I want my team to win, but I don't want him to keep his job. And Florida fans dealt with that with Billy Napier. I mean, in some ways, the worst thing for that group is when they rallied a couple of years ago and had a good second half of the season. It's like, darn, they're going to bring him back. But at Florida State, what's happening right now, and it's not just at Florida State, it's at other programs that have a coach that may not be wanted by the majority of their fan base. Follow me for a second. Chris, we've talked about this. In the National Football League, you may or may not remember the number. Every NFL owner in the National Football League prior to the season beginning received how much money from the media deal in the NFL?
What?
$475 million. $475 million. The National Football League has a salary cap. There's a way that you work with that cap and above the cap a little bit, but there's a salary cap. And the way salaries are reported, you get a pretty good idea about how much teams are spending. Okay? No matter how many tickets you buy, no matter how many suites you buy as a fan of the National Football League, you have zero influence for the most part on what your team spends. Now, if your team stinks and you've got 10, 20, 30,000 empty seats on Sunday when you play, you are impacting it. But for the most part, you don't. The dollars are there. Before an NFL owner sells a single ticket, sells a single beer, a single soda, it's $475 million in the media money alone. You don't run the National Football League, your team's roster. You don't. If you choose to say, I'm a Cleveland Brown fan, that's it. They stink. I bought season tickets. My family's had them for 30 years. We're out. Okay? You're not impacting anything on their radar. Yeah, 30,000 empty seats adds up, but for the most part, it's not determining who plays left tackle, who's the quarterback, and what's the roster going to look like that season. In college football, the current model is completely different. And at Florida State, there's anywhere from 5 to 500 general managers because they do impact how much is spent. And at Florida State, the timing of a lot of things didn't line up. Once things went south, when Florida State committed to build new facilities, what they did at the stadium, we had not yet entered the full pay-for-play world. Hundreds of $millions committed. And if you went back and said, would you do it again? The answer is no, not to that extreme. Because they put themselves in a financially challenging situation to rely on donors a lot more. And in the model for college football, it is about the 5 to 500 people that give money. And what I mean by that is every program's got that group, whether it's 3, 5, 7, that are serious, big-time money people. When the coach needs an extra $500,000 or $1 million to close that star player that's thinking about transferring, or you're trying to close the deal, that's who you call. But the guy that's in the 400 to 500 range, he still may give whatever it is, $5,000, $10,000, and that adds up once you get to a few dozen of those. Programs need that. FSU needs that. And the minute that that group decides no, what do? You're screwed. And Mike Norvell knew it. He's known it for 2 years. And the minute the decision was made that financially they couldn't get rid of him and brought him back, FSU's leadership had to have known, this is going to mean X number of that group of 5 to 500 will not give us money. So, Mike, you're going to have to build a roster based on X. And at $20+ million, you would think you can still build a good roster. We'll see. Does money guarantee you success in college football? I'll be honest. In the last 2 years, the way the money skyrocketed, the answer is yes. Now, there'll be somebody in that $30, $40, $50 million group that will fall on their face this year, miss the college football playoff, and they'll deal with the ramifications of that. But the teams that are paying that are likely going to have really good seasons. Florida State's going to have to figure some things out, and they had to moneyball it. You know, it's moneyballed it for the last X number of years. UCF has. And if you're a UCF fan, you're not shocked that they're not anywhere near a lot of teams that they're competing with in the Big 12. But at Florida State, their money people dictated what Mike Norvell was able to do. And what's interesting, and this isn't the attack on Florida State. It's just the reality. The one thing that you keep hearing some people fall back on, and, well, once we get rid of him, okay, fine. Whatever that number is at the end of this year, if you want to get rid of him, because, again, that group is not hoping for a good season, right? Because, Chris, I don't know. You've got a passion for Florida State. What's the number of wins that Mike Norvell keeps his job?
Going to have to be 7 or 8, probably.
Okay. let's go on Chris's low end. If they go 7-5, how fired up is your fan base? And I always talk about the journey's got to matter, okay? Journey's got to matter. And maybe it's a 6-5 season with a 30-point win against Florida State against Florida at the end of the year, and you're like, okay, but 7-5, not exactly having you dance in the streets in Leon County. Will that make a lot of people say, okay, I'm going to open up the checkbook more? I don't write checks anymore these days. Maybe, I don't know. The journey's going to matter, right? At the end of the year, you got to feel good about yourself. But Florida State is in one of the most interesting positions in college football. I think they are for so many reasons. And the biggest storyline at Florida State is from the moment that Jordan Travis got hurt, look at what's happened to the program, because they haven't recovered from that both on the field and then brand-wise, which I know a lot of Florida State fans fall back on and have this belief as we were trying to figure out what might happen with the Protect College Sports Act, and will be another round of realignment. And there's a group of people that believe that Florida State knows exactly where they're going, that they've got a deal in place, and it's fine. You can believe that. And they talk about the brand and everything. They say, well, TV-wise. Okay. Do you know how many games Florida State played on the ACC network 2 years ago?
Say
three. You know how many they played last year on the ACC network?
Looks like
five. Now, you go, okay, but Mark, of the programs that average 4 million people or more when it comes to TV viewers, Florida State ranks here. Yeah, I've done this routine before, man. Okay, I've done it before. Florida State's per year average audience is still really good. It's also misleading. And by the way, let me say this again. There's no question when they're playing at a high level, the resources and the brand has incredible value because of the history at Florida State. Same thing I say about Florida. Of course, Florida can get back to being a national championship contending team. Why? Because they've been there. Okay? But at Florida State, well, I mean, look at the TV numbers. Okay. Last year's TV numbers are skewed. Why? They beat Alabama opening weekend in front of 10.7 million viewers. Then the Miami game had 6 million. And I'm not telling you Florida State wasn't part of it, but Miami was kind of on a roll then. You want to do the numbers when I take those games out? And guess what games don't get rated? The ACC network. So every time somebody goes, yeah, well, look at the ratings, you're leaving out games. Last year, they had 5 games on the ACC network that don't get rated. It's only 7 games going to the model of telling me, well, here's the audience. In 2024, when they averaged 3.2 million viewers a game, the two biggest audience, that's here they went 2-10. The two biggest audiences were Georgia Tech and Boston College. Do you know what was those games? Chris, do you know when those games were played? That's right, the first 2 games of the season. That was the Ireland loss, okay? Then the next week was Boston College. Anybody want to know what the TV ratings were the rest of the season? Of course you don't, including the 3 ACC network games that don't rate. So, are they a brand? Sure, of course, when you're winning. Anybody know what Indiana's TV ratings were 3 years ago? Not 2, 3 years ago. I'll help you if you need help. Anybody know where they were 3 years ago? They were dead last in the Big Ten. Anybody know where they were 4 years ago? They were dead last in the Big Ten. Anybody know where they were 2 years ago when they made the college football playoff in the regular season? They were second to last. It was only when they made the playoff and then last year. Brands can come and go, man. They can come and go. Now more than ever, it is about can you win consistently. Florida State's brand is at a really, really interesting spot. Okay? Their first game against New Mexico State's on the CW. All right? And they've got some already set national games on ABC and ESPN. But I love the game that people play. Well, I mean, just look at the numbers. 5 ACC network games. If you counted the 5 ACC network games and got the actual number, which, by the way, ESPN knows what they are, and they're not good. It's just like ESPN Plus for Big 12 games. When they add that into your model, it sucks for your overall audience. But when you add it, guess who wasn't top 10 last year? Guess who wasn't top 20 last year? So when you keep hanging on that going, well, you know, I mean, the TV brand alone is worth the invitation to the Big Ten. Be careful. Okay? If they end up with 4 or 5 games on ACC Network again this year, so it is an interesting time when in college football, those, whatever we call them, sugar daddies, donors, booster, whatever you want to call them, they control your roster. And when they've determined my money's closed right now, your coach is in an almost impossible situation. It's a different level, but it's also similar. Gus's last year at UCF, the few people, and FSU's got more money people, they've been doing it longer, the few money people at UCF that really mattered, and instead of 5 to 500, maybe it's 5 to 250. He kept going back to the well after 2 years of give me money, they gave money and it didn't produce results. He knew it. UCF knew it. Gus's last year, he had no far more than he had yes when it came to money people. And Mike Norvell's experienced that now, and Billy Napier experienced it at Florida. It's why he's no longer there. Now, maybe Mike Norvell pulls a miracle, and maybe the younger quarterback emerges, and by the end of the season, there's a little bit of hope, and you're saying 7-5 is fun because we got a shiny toy and a quarterback and things like that. But he's in a really, really difficult spot, as is any coach that is, quote, hot seat, where the money people that matter turn the faucet off. Because you can't do it without them. And because of the financial commitment FSU has to all the things that they built already, there's not this extra pot to go, you know. That's why they ran to the state when the state said, okay, you can now give money to basically your football program. They were the first in line to do it. Why? They needed it. That's where they're at. And what was the difference for Miami? 3 years ago, the people that matter, and at Miami, it's actually, there's a 4 or 5, and then 500. Once Jorge Mas, who gave you Messi and Inter Miami and all that stuff. Once that family decided we're not taking no from Mario Cristobal, we're not taking no. You know, wasn't John Ruiz that wannabe guy. Once the Mas family got in the plane and said, Mario, we're not leaving until you sign the deal, and it was $80 million. And by the way, after the first year, people go, how do we get out of this deal? No, once they got him, and once they got the people that matter in Miami to say, put the money in, you got to put the money in, then it changed. They got a little bit lucky with Cam Ward because of what was going on with quarterbacks and who they wanted, but it worked. And then Mario was able to buy linemen. Malachi Tony was a massive commit for Miami because what it meant locally, and the dollars began to pour in. And the Cam Ward year laid the foundation. And they were able to go get Carson back last year, go spend more money on big linemen, and now it was in place to get more money again. That's how fast it turned, man. Chris, you remember when Jordan Travis is playing for undefeated Florida State football team, what did anybody think of Miami?
Nothing.
You didn't. And that's how fast it turns. Nobody cares what your TV ratings were in 2023 or 2022. Nobody cares. If you can't win, people are going to stop watching. And the deeper dive was most of the big TV games that Florida State had either A, against Alabama to start the year, the Boston, the Georgia Tech game, the first game. When you dug deeper and you were playing an ACC network game, ain't nobody watching, man. And Mike Norvell's in a really tough spot. He's in a really, really tough spot. Doesn't mean he can't win, but in a tough spot. Once the faucet gets turned off, because that's who controls your roster. Not the NFL. That's where college football is at right now. More on college football. Matt Michelle in about 20 minutes. We're back. Little NFL stuff next. Today for Double Shot Tuesday theme, got to have the city in the title. Hadn't heard Weezer in a while.
I like me some Weezer.
Yeah.
Piece of crap.
50857 on the text line, or send something in on the YouTube stream. Matt and Michelle coming up next segment. But can I play something for you?
Yeah.
I guess I understand why this is kind of popular, and I know why people then post things. But do you have any thoughts on this? Let me play this here. All right, here we go.
All right, good morning, everyone. We're here at Rigby High School. So here's the story. I'm about to go take the ACT, 32-year-old man, because I got last place in my fantasy football league, and that was our punishment. But you can't just go in and take it. You got to get a 19, which we figured out was about the average for the ACT for high school students. So it's been 14 years since I graduated high school. I have not thought about this stuff for 1 second. So we're going to see.
These punishments are getting annoying.
I was going to say.
Like, what happens if he doesn't get it? He's got to keep taking it until he gets 19?
I don't know. Like, at some point, it'd be like, all right, I guess I'll find someplace else to play fantasy football. I'm out.
These are getting.
But I appreciate the commitment, dedication.
Well, and then
taking the ACT. I didn't even know I didn't know a random person can sign up to take the ACT. Can you do that?
I don't know. Apparently,
should go back and take the LSAT, which I did years ago in college. A friend of mine was trying to get pre-law. He's like, "Will you take the LSAT?" I said, "Yeah." And the best thing ever, no pressure. I did better than him. He went on to be a successful attorney, but like, yeah, I'll take it. Whatever. I didn't know an adult can take the ACT. Yeah,
these punishments are and it's weird that some of the punishments are now being fulfilled instead of after the season.
Well, I don't know when that was shot. I just saw that posted. So.
I see a lot of fantasy football punishments now coming up. It's like, why are they just now happening?
I mean, I understand you got to agree before the season, and I think I'd push back. I mean, it's one that I have confidence I'm not going to finish last, but like, I'm not taking the ACT. Okay.
No. These punishments are just getting weird.
Roger Goodell was in Germany for the Flag Football World Championships, because the NFL is really all in on flag football, which is great. And during an interview, said at some point there will be NFL teams outside the USA. I have no doubt that this will happen one day, and said once that happens, its home field could certainly host a Super Bowl. Now, Roger Goodell may mean 20, 30 years from now. And Chris, I know every NFL team now was required to have an international city partner. Okay? Why do we need an international NFL team?
We don't.
I mean, it is, as you like to say, it's always about money, and it is, but I know why they play games there. And they clearly made a decision that it is going to be in the preseason. We're not going to take a team trying to get ready for a season, ask them to go over there. Like the NBA can go play, and the NBA plays regular season games. You can go play Premier League soccer comes here and plays friendlies. But why do we need an international team?
We don't.
Right.
There's no reason for it. It's not going to work. The logistics are too difficult to figure out. There's no way you're going to send a team from California to go play a team in Europe.
Well, even if we continue to advance when it comes to jet travel, I guess my question back is why? And the answer is going to be about money, international TV rights. But why do we have to have it?
We don't.
I mean, there's a Champions League in European soccer, but English teams play a season against other English teams. Now, the whole Super League idea died quickly, but I've accepted that we're getting towards an international game a week. That will happen. I think when we get to 18-game schedule, we'll have international game a week. But I don't get the obsession about having to have a team outside the United States.
We can't even figure out some of the teams here. Like trying to figure out stadiums and this and that. We got teams playing in Chicago that are now going to be in Indiana,
Well, but
New York, New Jersey, Dallas.
but we're still talking about teams regionally maybe moving a stadium one place to the other. I don't know why the NFL needs a team in London. And I know that they sell games out.
It's not needed.
Yeah.
There's no reason for it.
Yeah.
There's no reason for it. I don't know why we are trying to force this.
Hockey's the only one of our, well, in MLS that will share teams in Canada and baseball. But I'm talking about going outside of North America. I don't know what the obsession is to.
And if you did want to have a team outside of the United States, why not go to Canada first?
Go for football.
Yes.
They may tell you that they're bigger markets in Europe and the value of a team in city blank is worth more. And Goodell was not trying to say, hey, we're thinking about expansion next couple of years. It may be 20, 30 years from now. I just don't know what the obsession is about saying we have a team based in London.
I don't get it.
Or Barcelona.
I don't get it.
Or Paris.
There's no reason for it. What is the benefit of it?
I don't know. I mean, the NBA is going to do NBA Europe, but it's a European league. And while Adam Silver understands the value of international media rights, I don't think there's any plan of going, well, then we want to incorporate that into the regular NBA. No, I think they're starting NBA Europe to be a European league. I don't understand the NFL like, well, someday I have a team here. Why? You're playing games there already. You're asking teams to commit at least once a season to go play an international game. I guess I accept that. I just don't understand what the need would be to bring somebody.
There's not even a need to play the games outside of the country.
No, I mean, that's strictly about money. I mean, it's a money grab because every one of these games that are played, it's not Super Bowl like, but the dollars they justify because the amount of money that they're making on it. And I guess I've accepted that and part of the TV deal. And then even as a consumer, I don't mind a little 9:30 football. I've accepted that also, but I just don't. I just don't understand why you think we'll have a regular season. I mean, we'll have a team there full time.
Why does the NFL just not back an NFL Europe then? That way you can have a separate European
Because NFL
division.
Europe lost tens of millions of dollars. Playing regular season games with valuable NFL brands makes tens of millions of dollars. They simply burned money in NFL Europe because the value of the Cowboy star, of the Eagles logo has value.
How long ago was NFL
the
Europe?
Rhine Fire had no value.
How long ago was NFL Europe?
I'd have to look it up. It's probably, 15 years?
You mean to tell me that the NFL hasn't advanced in its marketing and how they could build a separate NFL league? Because they're doing that with flag football.
But it's the same reason why when Manchester City or Arsenal or Liverpool come play here, and if you sent teams from the league championship below, they don't draw the same. There's a value to that brand. And that's the same thing about the NFL when it brings regular season games there. Same reason why spring football struggles here, that there's a logo that has value. There's a shield that has value. But I don't get the obsession of an international NFL team. Matt Michelle is going to talk some college football when the Beat of Sports continues next. What do we got here?
A little bit of Doors. L.A.
Oh,
Woman.
L.A. Woman.
There
Sorry.
you go.
All right. City songs for Double Shot Tuesday today. Let's get to Matt Michelle.
This segment is presented by Bowegan's Beer Company.
Great, sir.
Let's tackle the latest news from UCF and around the world of college football with the Orlando Sentinel's very own Matt Michelle.
Give him the Heisman now.
Hit up Matt on Twitter at OS Matt Michelle.
Matt Michelle's out at UCF practice. He joins us today. Good morning, Matt. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing today?
I'm good. Matt, I talked about the preseason polls, that they do matter because it lays at least the foundation of perception of teams. And, the playoff committee is going to be impacted by that. I said earlier, people pick on the coaches poll. There's no team other than Clemson that's between the two polls that has the different spot is more than two spaces. So the polls are pretty consistent. Your thoughts on the AP poll, which came out yesterday? I don't know if there's anything that stood out to you.
Yeah, the one thing that stood out to me, I just think is, you look at the Big 12, Texas Tech came in at 12, number 12 in the AP poll. I thought maybe they might be a little bit higher. Maybe if Sorsby was playing, maybe that would have bumped them up. They still got 4 teams in the rankings. I thought that was a big step for the Big 12. The ACC only had 3, but obviously Miami is their front runner. They feel like there's a team that's probably going to have a chance to make some moves. But otherwise, I think everyone knew going into the season, Ohio State, Oregon, the Big Ten were probably going to be the front runners going in, at least on the preseason polls. And, to be honest with you, I'm one of the voters on the AP polls. So people I know who don't like those preseason polls, believe me, it's a tough job to sit down and try to come up with, the poll and look at the teams right now and base everything on what they did a little bit of last year, what they brought in with transfers, those kind of things. It's difficult, but I think eventually you're right. It's needed to maybe kind of set the baseline for going into the season.
Was there anybody that didn't make the top 25 that was in your top 25?
No, I pretty much had everybody that I thought was going to be in there. I had some teams flipped. I thought I put Houston above Utah in my rankings. I still think Texas Tech's a team to beat, at least with the Big 12. Everyone else, I think LSU was a little higher. People at LSU a little higher than I did. I know Lane Kiffin's a good coach. I'm just not sold yet that he's a top 12 coach, or at least they have a top 12 team at least going into the preseason. But again, we'll see how this all starts to play out over the next couple months once the season starts.
Let me ask you about Miami. I said earlier, I'm not picking on the Canes, but they spent the last 2 years, built up a brand, had the season last year, come in ranked inside the top 10. Matt, they have one game. They have one toss-up game on their schedule, and in a 12-team playoff, they could lose in South Bend, play a respectable game. There's no way Miami is missing the playoffs. They'd have to really be upset. They do go to Clemson, but that schedule is built that 11-1 is the worst Miami should be this year.
Yeah. I think about this. You look at what Miami went through last year. Miami didn't leave the state of Florida until late November. Their schedule has been something that has benefited them. Did last year a little bit. And their schedule is going to benefit them this year. The key for Mario Cristobal this year is going to be making sure his team doesn't get complacent, making sure they stay focused. There are going to be games, like you said, that they should easily win. You've got to find a way to win those games and make sure you don't trip up because, you might lose it, like you mentioned, at Notre Dame, and you still have a shot at getting in the playoff and making a solid run. But let's say you lose another game that you're not supposed to lose, and then all of a sudden, doubt creeps in a little bit, and you start wondering whether or not this team is as good as they think they are. And so it's going to be a challenge for Mario. This is the first time really that he's going to have to find a way to keep his team. They're the front runner, one of the front runners, obviously the front runner in the ACC. They're one of the top teams in the country. He's going to have to find a way to keep his team motivated and make sure they don't get complacent and maybe just kind of lackadaisical when they're out on the field with some of these teams.
Texas Tech is the highest ranked Big 12 team. I don't think the majority of people would say that they're like Miami, a national championship contender. Could be. But if I asked you to compare the depth of the Big 12 to the ACC, you think who's better?
At this point, I still think the Big 12 is better. And I just think, you look at the top of the top 4 teams that are there, the Texas Techs, the BYUs, Houston, Utah, You could even throw in, Arizona if you wanted to and put them in there. I think for me, when you look at the ACC outside of Miami, maybe SMU, that's about it. Maybe Clemson or Louisville would be the third team. It's really hard because because Clemson has struggled, hasn't been nearly as proficient as they have in the last few years. Louisville's making it, trying to rebound under Jeff Brom. So they're just, to me, it just doesn't seem like, if you told me like Louisville was going to win it all in the ACC, I think I'd probably laugh. But same for Clemson at this point. But I think for the Big 12, if you just said Houston can make a run and win the Big 12 championship, I could buy that, based on what they return on their rosters. So to me, I think the deeper conference is the Big 12. Now, much like we've talked about in the last couple of years, the Big 12 has to go out there and prove it. They're going to have to go out there and find ways to continue to play top games and beat top opponents and make sure they don't find a way to kind of trip up on themselves and lose a couple teams maybe that they felt like were going to be challengers.
Yeah, I think they've just got, from an optics standpoint, they've got to try to get 3 teams inside the top 15 as the season goes along. I just think that perception is going to matter. I mentioned earlier, I'm sure you saw the story that CBS Sports did regarding dollar commitment to rosters, and there was a note in there about Florida State that they're barely over $20 million. And I said, look, in the NFL, you get $475 million from media money to begin. We got a salary cap, got a pretty good idea, and fans don't have an impact on what an NFL team spends. In college football, it's different. You got 5 to whatever number of boosters that can really impact. And in Florida State, the problem that Mike Norvell has is money people turn the faucet off, which is not a good sign for a coach. Your thoughts on the simple fact that he's in a tough spot because the people that can control the roster just said no, that they weren't going to give more. Yeah. And I made a comparison a little bit different, but a couple of years ago, that was Gus's problem. Gus went back to the well to people for a third straight year, and the dollars they gave him didn't lead to results, and they said no, and he knew he was in trouble.
Yeah, it's a hard pitch. You're Mike Norvell. You're going around to your boosters and you're saying, hey, I need more money. We need more money if we're going to contend in the ACC, if we're going to contend in college football. And your boosters are looking around saying, man, look what you did last year. What makes us believe that you're going to flip this team around? And, it was something that happened to Mike last year. Remember, there was a point in the season where there were reports that maybe the players kind of tuned him out, tuned out his message. That same thing can happen to boosters and donors. Mike could be talking to these guys thinking he's giving the selling points and pitching the spiel. But if they don't believe in that, if they think themselves, hey, this isn't working, you're not doing the right things, we feel like we think there should be a change, we'd rather save our money for that, then you're not going to get that kind of investment. And it's going to be tough for Mike. I think the only thing that changes that is if Florida State wins. If he can find a way to flip things around, get to 7 or 8 wins, maybe convince the boosters and donors that, yes, we're there, we've had some big wins, then, I think you might be able to see them invest some more money. But right now, this is a program that is it's struggling. It's struggling with perception. I've talked about this over the last few weeks. There's a lot of buzz surrounding Florida State and in the state alone. I think most people are talking about Miami and Florida and UCF. And very few people are talking about Florida State outside of Tallahassee. So it's a perception thing for Mike Norvell, and he's going to have to find a way to change that. And it may not happen. I mean, if it gets down to it and they continue to struggle, I think more and more boosters aren't going to be willing to give money to a program they feel like is already going to have to make a change, and they're going to need to fundraise for $40-50 million to get rid of Mike Norvell. So we'll see what happens this season.
Let me pivot. You're at UCF. Excuse me, for a media session coming up. I think 2 spots are legitimate question marks for UCF is offensive line and wide receiver. You did a little bit deep dive into the wide receiver group, and particularly one player, Tyron Holmes, who's the highest recruit as a receiver UCF has ever had. Elaborate. I encourage people to read Matt's piece if you're a UCF fan or just want to follow. He may get a chance to play early simply because of his talent, and also this is not a very deep core right now at UCF.
Yeah, very much so. I think, the comparison that was given to a lot of us was, it reminds a lot of people of Wade and Charles. What happened to Wade and Charles last year? Wade and Charles came in. He was a highly touted, receiver, true freshman. Not many people thought he was getting an opportunity, but because of the fact their wide receiver group was so, untested, and, they got him a chance to get out there, especially late in the season. And he was able to prove himself. He stepped up and took on a bigger leadership role. And then in the offseason, obviously, he was a key component to bring him back. I think that's the same thing with Horns. I think Horns has the talent. He's very explosive. He's got, he's been impressing his teammates and coaches all around. They've talked nothing about him and his ability to what he's able to do. And I think this is a chance for him to step up there and assume a bigger role. Whether it's going to be first team, I doubt it'll maybe be a first team type situation, but if you can get in that second team depth chart where you can help out, or even on special teams, I think it's going to be key for them. They need as many explosive playmakers as they can have to have an opportunity to showcase themselves in the Big 12. So I think Horns is a guy that really could kind of, find a way to do that. But again, he needs to continue to do the things he's been doing. And, he's got a lot of confidence and he seems kind of mature for his age, even though he's only 18 years old, but he's a guy that a lot of people feel like can be that next step and maybe help build a foundation for this wide receiver group.
Yeah, they got a scrimmage on Thursday, which may give us some answers to some things in the depth chart. I want to ask, I know you had a chance to chat a little bit with Alan Scrinch, the defensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
Am I reading this? I think Alex is just comfortable. It's been a couple of rough spots for him before he got here. And I think he needed, like Scott Frost, to be reminded that, you were once viewed as a really, really good coach. And I think the second year, while Scott is better, I think Alex is much more confident. Not saying he was embarrassed, but, he had a rough spot a couple years ago and landed at UCF. And a lot of people kind of laugh at that hire. But I get a sense that he's back to his old self, and his old self was one of the best defensive coordinators in the country. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think so too. I think he just needed a second chance, much like what Scott went through. I think Alex needed that second chance, and I think he's proving himself. I think the thing that benefits him too is they've been able to, they've played well at times on defense. Their pass defense has been outstanding. Then you bring back an experienced group they have this year. The secondary pretty much returns all its starters. You bring back guys who are experienced. Ty Bartram comes in from Harvard. He's a guy who had a lot of experience with the Crimson. You bring in other experienced players. All of a sudden, that defense looks really solid going forward. In fact, I think that defense is going to be, which always seems to happen, it steps up early on and tries to make a name for itself. Where they need to find some growth is up front. But I think for Alex, I think he's way much more comfortable now. I think he's excited to be here. I think he understands there's an opportunity here. And if they can have another solid year, it's only going to continue to help grow that defensive unit, especially on the recruiting trail. They got to find some pieces to help them out. So, again, this is kind of what the staff has been. Scott and some guys that maybe were not really highly sought after, but guys who now have really kind of established themselves. And I think Alex knows that he has a chance to really kind of get himself back to where he was maybe a few years back before, he ran into some trouble at Oklahoma and USC.
Check out Matt's work on X or Twitter at OS Matt Michelle, of course, the Orlando Sentinel and OrlandoSentinel.com. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it.
All right, take care. Talk to you later.
Matt Michelle, a little bit of insight in college football. UCF Knights do have a scrimmage closed on Thursday. Inside the stadium. Don't try to sneak in.
What if I want to?
I'm just saying. You could try, but just don't try to sneak in. Kind of like the, big, somewhat, they'll scrimmage one more time, but this is kind of big because I think after this, then you kind of settle on what your depth chart is and you kind of begin to work on a game plan. And I am not speaking for Scott Frost here, so please don't take that. But I think UCF, like a lot of teams, you have a two-game approach.
Mm-hmm.
You'd like to believe that you can go play against Bethune-Cookman, first game, all that stuff. And then it's Pitt. And really important early season game for UCF. Not that they're not paying attention, but a lot of schools have that scenario, and you try to figure out how do we focus on a two-game plan. But Thursday scrimmage is important, several positions. I think UCF's defense, in the Big 12, I've said this a couple times, I think they got a top 5 defense in the Big 12. I think their ends are going to be okay. There was a big question mark for them. I think their secondary might be top 3 in the Big 12. You got to help that group out, though. The offense has to move the ball to allow that group to get off the field. And, Chris, it's old football lingo. Mm-hmm. You have to score every time, but at least get a couple of first downs.
Right.
Too many times last year, it was 3rd and 9, and the defense had not yet gotten water. And defense up was a common term too many times last year. And, that's the best way to help your defense out. Got 3 first downs, going to punt the ball and play field position. All right. At least the defense had a break. But I think the defense is going to be good. The key is, can you keep the quarterback healthy and can you keep them upright? And that's the offensive line at UCF, which I think is the valid question mark. I do think they got a special freshman wide receiver, though. All right, 11 o'clock hour. Ira Kaufman's going to join us. Mr. Buck coverage himself. On the mark, off the mark, but the hour kicks off the news next.
Let's really do the news.
Yes. Now it is time to do the news.
But now it's time for the news.
11 o'clock hour, WY, Orlando, WJR, HD2, Cocoa Beach, Orlando sports leader, Marc Daniels, Chris Vasquez, the Beer Sports. Quickly, a few things in the NBA yesterday. The headlines was Mark Walter, who sold the Lakers, desperately now trying to sell the shares of Chelsea. The government's all over him, and the Dodgers are next. I mean, that's inevitable. Then the Bus family, how about that? That's that family dinner going.
Well,
She threw the brothers under the bus.
Mhm.
This is the brothers' way of getting back at her. The brothers want to cash in on the $12.5 billion valuation. She's like, not so fast, my friend. Pun intended, Lee Corso. And now you'll have that legal fight going on over there.
Oh boy. Well, how much blame does Shams bear in this for kind of putting it out there when it wasn't true?
I don't know if it wasn't true. I mean, he reported something. She counters. I mean, his source is probably clearly one of the brothers. Where it goes, I don't know. Then the story initially reported by Ramona Shelburne that the NBA has concluded that Steve Ballmer didn't do anything wrong. Maybe Kawhi Leonard and the sponsors should have been more police. And then the NBA goes, that's not true either. So, great times in the NBA.
Not a good look.
No, not a good look. AP Top 25 out yesterday. Ohio State is 1. Miami ranked, Florida State, Florida not ranked. Reports say John Rahm is headed back to the PGA Tour. Those that cover the PGA Tour say not so fast. While the PGA Tour, while LIV canceled their final team event, the reports say Rahm's prepared to try to come back to the PGA. And those that cover the sport say that Rahm's not going to be offered the Brooks Koepka deal, which he had to give money to charity, kind of apologize that it may be a lot more for him. Shohei Ohtani, Pete Crow Armstrong both homered yesterday in their battle for the MVP in the National League. PCA's home run gave him a 30-30 season. Keenan Allen signed with the Colts.
I don't know who's throwing him the ball. Daniel Jones is healthy, or we're doing Riley Leonard or Anthony Richardson.
12 more teams, and Jason McIntyre will be right that he was cut by half the league.
We do a little bit of good news for Florida State.
What do you got?
Peter Wark. He is going to be honored. 12 College Football Hall of Fame member.
The Hall of Fame class, though.
Peter Wark. So that will be October 31st against Clemson.
Off-field stuff aside.
Yes.
One of the most dynamic plays I've ever seen play college football.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the movie trailer guy, in a world. In a world today where we build these cyborg freaks, Peter Wark was just built differently, and speed, and like, what is that? Right?
Loved watching him.
Do you have that list?
No, I don't.
Okay, I could probably find it. Great for radios. I'm just doing a search. Okay. I'll find the list. By the way, among the eligibles for the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2027's class, just because you're eligible doesn't mean you get in. But Gronk, Ben Roethlisberger, Adrian Peterson, Richard Sherman, Cam Newton, Antonio Brown. I mean, you start going, wait, these guys just finished up playing, right? Let's see what else we have for you. I gotta find this. Did you see the NFL fandom numbers yesterday that came out? The index, taking into account social media. Buffalo Bills, number 1.
Bills Mafia. Can't stop them.
Yeah.
So did you want the 2026 Hall of Fame?
Yeah, do you got it?
College Football
We have
Hall
to
of
go
Fame?
through everybody. Just give me the names that stand out to you.
Here we go. Marvin Harrison, Garrison Hurst, Mark Ingram, James Laurinaitis, Terrence Newman, former Cowboy, and Ndamukong Suh, Peter Warwick. We got 4 coaches. We got Jim Margraf, Gary Patterson, Chris Peterson, and Ken Sparks.
Okay. For the College Football Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, and can't forget this one, Aaron Donald.
Oh, that guy.
That guy.
Yeah, that guy. All right, Ira Kaufman, the legendary reporter for the Buccaneers for decades, joins us. What's happening in Buck Camp? We'll get to him next. I maintain before the Bucs started playing football, Ira Kaufman was covering the Buccaneers. And you can find him on X or Twitter, iKaufman76, and his work at Joe Buck's fan. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Hey, Mark, that 76 happens to be the year I started in this crazy business. And so I am celebrating my 50th year, Mr. Daniels, 50.
Can I share a couple of quick stories? Do you know
Sure.
how many years? I'm going behind the scenes here, okay? So many, many, many years ago, when I worked in Tampa on WFNS in the morning with the great Theo Bell, okay, and began to know wonderful people like yourself and others. Do you know you have a similar number to Roy Cummings? Do you know how many producers I've given Roy's number to because it's close to your number? And
I believe Roy's 8027, and yeah, you're right.
Oh my God! So Roy has every reason to hate me. But anyway, can I ask you this as you celebrate 50 years? If I said, Roy, the best interview for a head coach and player in your 50 years is who? Well, I said Roy, right? Ira. I just called you Roy.
Did you
Ira.
just call me Roy?
I
Mark,
did.
Did you just call me?
This has got off to such a bad start. Please, I've had a rough week. Ira, the great Ira. 50 years, best coach, best player for the Bucs ever for interviews.
Well, best coach for me was in a crazy way.
Yes.
Maybe Ray Perkins, and I'll tell you why.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, because I covered him with the '79 Giants.
Right.
The first team I ever covered. And he had a rookie quarterback named Phil Simms, and Perkins was a first-year coach. So he leaves and goes to Alabama. Then I come down to Tampa, and, all of a sudden in 1987, here comes Perkins. And he walks in the media room, and, Ira, what the hell are you doing here? And I said, I'm about to ask you the same question. And from that moment on, for 3 or 4 years, I had great access to Perkins because, I don't know, it must have been a New York connection or whatever, but he liked me, he trusted me, and nobody else was getting anything from that beady-eyed coach, and I was. So I had a good time with Perkins. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. And then he went on to Alabama from there.
How about player?
Player. Well, I'm certainly not going to say 99 Warren Sapp, Mark.
I know that.
As you well know, yeah, I had a fractured relationship with Sapp.
Yeah.
I would say Rondé, who I just saw today an hour ago at Bucks camp, and he's prepping for Saturday night's game. He's working the broadcast booth with Gruden on Saturday, because the regular guy Chris Myers, he's got an auto race to do in DC, so he's tied up, and Gruden's taking a spot. Rondé was very honest, very, very sharp. I thought he was the smartest player in football for most of the years that he played in terms of film study. And I just saw him today. He's on my back about Simeon Rice, getting him in the hall. I said, Rondé, he can't even be a finalist. How can I make a speech for him if he's not one of the 15 finalists? So, Rondé's still very close to the Bucks. He's very tight with ownership. He's tight with Bowles. He's tight with Jason Light. And, he's a big presence out here at $1.
All right, you've seen a whole bunch of players over the years, and I'm not trying to overhype something, but what do you see in a young Ruben Bain?
Well, it's funny you say that because 20 minutes after practice ended, and we talked to Bowles and we talked to Mayfield today, and I walked back to get my towel at the table, and Bain is carrying the blocking sled out to the field by himself. That thing's heavy. And he takes it all the way out. And, I'm looking at my car right now, and it's 92 degrees, and probably more than that on the field. And he's doing drills by himself. Now, that's impressive because he's not worried about making this team. He's not worried about being a starter. Can't wait to see him Saturday. I think he's the real deal. I still can't believe he lasted till the 15th pick. There's going to be a lot of teams in this league, Mark, that are kicking themselves that they didn't draft Bain because he's got short arms.
Well, Ruben Bain's got a bright future with the Bucks. I don't know if Vita Vea is ever going to take a snap again. Again, you've covered a lot of these negotiations. Where are we going with this, and when might there be a resolution?
Well, him out there today, in shorts, and he didn't participate in practice again. But then walking off the field, he gives Jason Light a high five, and he's all laughs with Bowles. And Joel Glazer happened to be out there today, the co-owner. I'm sure he got a few words in with Vea. He's doing what he thinks he has to do to ramp up the pressure, Mark, but I think he's running out of time. And, once he starts missing game checks, then it gets serious. I don't think it's crazy to give the guy some more money this year. Don't extend him. Let's see what happens. Because, Mark, I don't know if you're like me, but I think this is a kind of a wait and see with the Glazers this year. They went backwards last year. You can't start 6-2 in a bad division and not make the playoffs. I mean, that's not easy. Mayfield didn't play well down the stretch. The defense was awful. And so I think they're giving it one more shot. They brought in a lot of 30-year-old guys, 31-year-old. That's not usually what Jason Light does. So that tells me that they're going to give this one more shot, and I think Vea is going to be part of it. They got some depth up front, but, Vea, just by tying up two blockers, he's got value just doing that.
The great Ira Kaufman's with us. I said this, and please share your thoughts, that because the South is the way that it is, you can win the division and get a home playoff game if you win 9 games. How much of that played a factor in what the Bucs chose to do, and with that, even Baker Mayfield situation?
Well, that's a theory, Mark. I'll tell you this. This team, I think they can go 7-10 just as soon as they can go 10-7. And I wouldn't have said that a year ago, Mark, because the arrow was pointing up. They went from 8 wins to 9, from 9 to 10, and then they regressed. You can blame it on injuries, especially on the O-line. Say what you want. But they fell apart down the stretch. They absolutely did. And that's why you've seen the overhaul on this defense. They're giving this one more shot. Mark, I'm telling you, if it's 7-10, they're going to blow some things up. I think Light survives, but I think Bowles would certainly be out at that time. Mayfield's not going anywhere, in my opinion, Mark. His picture's on the building. His face is on the front of the media guide. If he throws 35 touchdowns, they win 9 or 10 games and win the division, they're going to give him what he wants. And even if it's $55 million, so be it. Mark, you make sacrifices for the quarterback. You don't do it for the left guard, but you do it for the quarterback. And I just don't think Mayfield's going anywhere.
What's the strongest part of the Bucs, and what's the biggest concern for the Bucs this season?
Strongest part is the O-line.
Mm-hmm.
When healthy, as they were in 24, they averaged 29.5 points a game. Now, some of that was Liam Cohn, who's a heck of a play caller. Look what he did in Jacksonville. Mark, you're well aware of it. So, they lost him, and that was a blow. But the bigger blow was the O-line. They never had the 5 starters play the same game all season. Not once did the 5 starters play together. And that's the strength of the team. I think it's the strength of Jason Light in terms of personnel. He drafts very well. He signs guys very well up front. He's an old offensive lineman himself. He knows the position, and he knows how to project these guys. So when healthy, that is a very strong unit. I think top 5 in the league. My concern is at corner, because Benjamin Morrison always seems to be hurt. Now McCollum is hurt, and McCollum's a guy. Well, I've never heard this last year, but towards the end of the year, we asked Bowles about McCollum. He said, he got bored out there. I mean, you can't have a bored cornerback.
Bored?
Mark.
How do you get bored?
Yeah, bored. His eyes started. I guess when he wasn't getting picked on, he was bored. So I'm a little worried about that. Jacob Parrish is really good. Second-year player. Very good. But I think it's a young room. And, look, I know they had a guy that returned a pick 6 last week against the Jets. But, Mark, you and I have been through a lot of these preseasons. You don't want to get too excited. The quarterback looked good. Guy who played in Kansas for 6 seasons, undrafted. The cornerback who had the pick 6, undrafted. So the odds are these guys aren't going to make it. Those are the odds. But you never know. But I'm a little worried about corner. I think they need a veteran. I wouldn't be surprised if they sign somebody late in preseason that gets cut off another team.
I'm going to end with this. In the 50 years, the most underappreciated player that you would interview throughout a season? Like this guy, I don't even know. He's playing the NFL. He's a great interview, and I hope he lasts a long time. Who's that?
Well, I think Chris Sims. Chris Sims, who's doing very well in your profession, Mark, as you know, on Pro Football Talk with Florio. He was a very good interview. And he knew, Mark, he wasn't naive, and he knew that when he was drafted, which I believe was '03, the year after they won the Super Bowl, Gruden didn't want him. It was a Rich McKay pick. It was McKay's last year as GM. And they drafted him, I think, second round. Out of Texas, and he knew that Gruden didn't want him, but at the end, Gruden had to play him, and of course, he almost lost his life with that spleen accident. But Sims was very sharp, very analytical, and I'll tell you another guy, Dan Orlovsky, Mark. He was the backup in Tampa, maybe under Schiano, and I would talk to him because he would give me good insight on the team, and nobody else would talk to him. Nobody talks to the backup quarterback. So those two guys, and my go-to guys in general are the offensive linemen, Mark. You've learned over the years. These guys are sharp. They feel underappreciated. You can't go wrong talking to an offensive line.
No, that's where you find out the meat and potatoes of everything. Ira Kaufman's 50th year of covering the National Football League. No one's covered the Bucs longer or better. He's on X or Twitter. iKaufman76. Support all the work he does. The podcast, his work at JoeBucksFan.com. Please apologize to Roy Cummings for me. I love you, and I'll talk to you again during the season. Appreciate it.
My pleasure, Mark. Talk to you soon.
Ira Kaufman. Yep.
Great start.
He almost gave it away. The number's the same except the last number.
Mm-hmm.
The exact same number except the last number. One's a 4, one's a 7. I am telling you, Roy Cummings was the Tampa Bay Times Lightning reporter forever. Okay. And, I think Roy's retired now. And I haven't worked in Tampa in so many years, but I used to have both guys on and everything. And I cannot tell you how many times a person in your chair, Chris, the producer of a show that I was doing, called Roy Cummings looking for Ira Kaufman. So Roy Cummings has every right to hate me. Every right to hate me. Yeah. Because it's like, hey, Ira. It got to the point that Roy's like, no, this is Ira's number, because he knew Marc Daniels is calling and it's the wrong number. How bad is that? Yeah. It's so, and then I called him Roy.
Yeah.
Ira's awesome. Never change. Ira's the best. Right? Ira's as old school and as classic as it gets and everything. And good for him. He's still up there grinding and so forth. He said he thinks Baker's going nowhere.
Yep. But he also said that if he goes 10-7, if the Bucs win the division, then he sees them giving Baker $55 million.
Right.
If they don't win the division, you can't justify giving Baker $55 million.
Okay, what if they go 10-7, win the division, and Baker has 19 touchdowns, 14 picks in an average season?
Can't do it.
It's always about the journey.
Yeah, but you can't do it.
No, yeah. And on Vita Vea, he's like, give him a little bit more money this year. Does that make Vita Vea happy? I don't know.
I could see that, because is this the year that it's non-guaranteed, or is it next year that's non-guaranteed? This year?
Yeah.
Maybe just make the money guaranteed.
Good stuff with the great Ira Kaufman. On the Mark, off the mark is next. I can't believe it's in the music library.
Yep.
Vienna by Billy Joel is in our music library?
That it is.
One of the most underrated Billy Joel songs there is. By the way, bravo to the texter. No, I mean, obviously a Billy Joel fan, but I can't believe it's in the library.
Yep.
Cities, city songs about cities, or have cities in the title. Let's get down the mark, off the mark.
It's a Tuesday staple on the beat of sports. On the mark, off the mark. Presented by Bowegan's Beer Company. Bowegan's, recrafting perceptions.
Oh, man. All right. Actually, I want to start with a little bit of college here.
Okay.
Florida Gators entering their first year under new head coach John Summerall. He spoke to the media for about 40 minutes on Monday, and one of the questions that he was asked was about the uniforms, and according to his answer, he's less than interested in what his team wears.
The administration here and other people that were involved in planning that out with everybody in that room probably were like looking at me like, why are you so disinterested in this? Because I could give two. I just want to win games.
Yeah, that's what you want to hear from your coach.
I want more profanity. Yeah.
Mark, we know it. Kids love the threads, especially if you're 18, 19 years old. You love looking cool. You love looking cool in your uniform, the cool helmets, this and that. So would I be on the mark or off the mark for believing that as much as winning games matters, to bring in recruits and even transfers, Coach Summerall should maybe care a little bit more about what the Florida Gators wear on the field?
Off the mark. Here's how the uniform thing works, okay? Give players and fan base the following scenario. Hey, how about 6 different really cool uniforms and we go 5 and 7? Or how about we wear home and road, 1 of each, and we go 12 and 0? We'll take the 12 and 0. So here's what happens. When you win like that, then you can dress in funky uniforms. Establish a winning culture that you're going to go with, like Ohio State can wear whatever they want. You know, Oregon can wear whatever they want. You back it up and win. When you're changing a uniform all the time and you're losing, sorry. So I got no problem with Summerall.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually don't mind that.
Yeah.
We just had
But I do like those Spurrier throwbacks.
Yeah, those are nice. We just had Ira Kaufman on talking about the
You sure it wasn't Roy Cummings? Yeah.
The Bucks play the Chiefs in week 2 of their preseason schedule.
The Chiefs.
And head coach Todd Bowles is planning on playing Baker Mayfield as well as other healthy starters in the game. None of these starters played in week 1 against the Jets. I'm not following the logic here, but I don't know how long the healthy starters will play, but am I on the mark or off the mark for believing that there is zero benefit to playing the starters even one series in a preseason game against the Chiefs?
There's zero benefit?
Zero benefit.
Oh, I disagree with that. I accept what has happened to the preseason. The stuff about Brady and I guess even Troy Aikman about starting quarterbacks playing. We're in a different world, man. We're in a different world. It's like load management of the NBA, where I accept it, but I think there's no downside, particularly for an offensive line, a defensive line, or any unit that needs a little bit of cohesiveness that haven't been together. So if you get an old line that's got 2-3 new starters, I don't see the downside of playing a couple of series against other people that you're going up against. That's why and Chris, I think we're not far of the day where either we played, I wouldn't say no preseason games. We're going to get 2 once we get to the 18 games.
Mm-hmm.
But look at the number of dual practices that have increased, because that's got great value. And that happens a lot now. And then you get where a team travels and practices for 2 days against somebody, then plays the game. I think you're going to get more of that. But I don't see any downside if you have a line that hasn't had experience of playing together.
I don't know. Then why not just do it against the Jets? Why not play your starters against the Jets?
It's a fair point. Yeah.
So again, I didn't follow the logic here, but I'm not the head coach.
Yeah.
Mike Florio wrote a piece at Pro Football Talk, and he talked about some programs who have reached out to agents of first-year players in the NFL who get cut and could be looking at practice squad as a possibility. These agents talked about these NFL players and coming back to college.
Yeah.
We've already seen Cole Hudson, participate in an NFL camp and be allowed to go back to college. To hell with rules, apparently. So am I on the mark or off the mark for believing that as long as there's still eligibility to be had in college, a first-year player who is either cut or looking at the practice squad should be allowed to go back to college?
I disagree. The court's already said yes in most of these cases. But I believe that the minute you sign pen to paper and become a professional, that's it.
Should be first year only.
Mm-hmm. Now
you're either cut or a practice squad player as long as you have eligibility left in college.
Yeah, you're going to end up being right, but I don't think that's the case. There are consequences, good and bad, for the choices we make in life. And if a player after 3 years of playing college football believes I'm ready to become a professional, then you become a professional. If you go through the process and get drafted, you're a professional. You've taken money.
I'm 100% behind you on this. I hate that what Cole's doing is allowed. I believe Tommy Castellanos is still trying to make his way back into college.
Yeah, the keyword's try on that one. you have to have someone that wants you. Okay.
But it's ridiculous that this is even a thing. It's ridiculous that these judges allow these kids to go back.
And Chris, I'm telling you, whenever the 5-for-5 thing, because this is supposedly either when you get past it, you do realize that the minute someone blows out a knee in game 1 or 2 of a football season, they're going to go to court after the 5th year to go, well, I didn't play that first year, even though it's supposed to be a hard 5-for-5, meaning no more red shirt, no medical red shirt. The minute that person blows out a knee in game 1 or 2 of whatever year, they'll go to court and go, hey, we're never going to be done with this. We'll never be done with this.
It takes the judges to man up or woman up.
No, it doesn't. It takes the volunteer members of the NCAA who agreed to abide by a set of rules to enforce their own rules. That's it.
But we've seen the NCAA can try and enforce the rules, but it's the judges that overturn it.
But I'm just saying it's as simple as that.
Well, no, so we can't blame the NCAA.
I've not blamed the NCAA for the last decade.
You just said it's on the NCAA to enforce the rules.
No, it's on the voluntary members. The NCAA does not have a president or person that wakes up and says, here's a new rule. No rule gets passed without the volunteer members, schools that participate. They assign a person to represent them in meetings. That person sits on committees. Their regional meetings are national, all the way down. No law gets passed until its members vote on it. Charlie Baker does not wake up and set policy. Anything regarding eligibility and transfers, the members agreed on. And then people went to court and found judges to rule in their favor. It's as simple as saying, we will not accept you coming back. Well, the judge said so, but you can't play for us. Why? Because we're gonna follow the rules that we agreed to. But greed took over, and the hunger and obsession to win took over, and it's like, well, I got to take him back because I can win with these players.
It's absolutely ridiculous. But I still think it's on the judges. The judges also have to say, no, we're done doing this. Your eligibility is done.
Judges are humans that graduated from universities that they want their teams to win. So if you're looking for help with the judicial system, you've looked to the wrong place.
All right, let's get to one more here. Tightness has kept 49ers running back Christian McCaffrey sidelined.
Okay.
Tightness.
Yeah. Tightness.
He's missed practice for about a week now. Mike Florio made, let's call it a theory, that this tightness could be CMC's way of kind of holding in after Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs got their new contracts. He's kind of hinting that CMC could be hinting at possibly wanting a new deal. Ian Rappaport refuted that.
This is not fake. Actual tightness, not fake tightness, not a hold-in, actual tightness. Does not seem to me like anything really to worry about. I know we've heard that before with Christian McCaffrey, but for real, this does not seem like anything to worry about. The timing of this coming right after Jahmyr Gibbs, right after Bijan Robinson got paid. My understanding, coincidence, Christian McCaffrey should be fine. Of
course, if the substation has anything to do with it, he will not be fine. Christian McCaffrey is 30. He signed through the 2026-2027 season. But despite his age and recent injury history, would I be on the mark or off the mark for believing that at some point this year, the 49ers will give CMC one final contract that will pay him the most money as a running back?
Yeah, I didn't think that's where you were going, but I'll agree with you.
Chris is right.
Because I think both can be true in this situation. He does have tightness. Therefore, what's the point of rushing back? And two, because I want to stay healthy to get the contract you're talking about. So both can be true.
Yeah.
It's like thinking, hey, I just saw what these guys got. I'm not coming back to hurt myself. And I would think even, and made up number, if he plays 13 of the 17 games, it still may be enough to get him that one final contract.
Well, I think it was last year you had asked me before the season, how many games does CMC play in?
Yeah.
And he played in all of them. I
think he
believe.
did, yeah.
Yeah. So if I'm the Niners, I'd make Christian McCaffrey the highest paid running back in the NFL at some point this season. And he'll be a Niner for the rest of his career.
Rips a groin. Game 3. And that's it.
I'm a Mark.
Just walking across the substation. We're back to put a wrap on the show next.
Time for the latest news, gossip, trends, and off-the-wall stories. Trends. Ooh.
That's the craziest thing I ever heard.
Down the stretch we come on the Tuesday program. Ira Kaufman did mention that John Gruden is in the booth with Rondé Barber for the Bucks pregame this weekend.
That'll be fun.
It'll be an interesting booth. I would imagine there'll be some wild things that will be said there. So.
You think John Gruden will ever be coaching on the sidelines again?
I don't know. I mean, I think he wants to. I think the NFL case may go a long way in determining that. I think right now he is he can't be touched because the NFL suit. I don't think the NFL would let a team do that. That's why his name pops up every once in a while for a college job. But I don't think right now. But maybe never say never.
Yeah.
That's it for us today. Basketball talk with Keith Smith. More college football tomorrow on the program, and I think Scott Harris may be by for a movie Wednesday as well. Chris, have a good day.
You as well, Mark.
Miss any of the program, go where you get your favorite podcast. Type in the Beat of Sports on demand to get access to the show. Subscribe, get it downloaded, listen when it's convenient for you. The video stream is always available on our YouTube page, 96.9 The Game Orlando. Click on the logo and the live button. You can watch the video stream back. Chris produced. I'm Marc Daniels. We'll talk tomorrow for the Beat of Sports.